Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, began his journey in Hollywood with an aura of charm that was almost magical. Yet beneath this charm, a darker reality unfolded. Picture this, a young Elvis fresh off the bus from Memphis, stepping onto a glittering Hollywood set. His presence was like a breath of fresh air, so captivating that everyone around him was mesmerized. But this charm came with a hidden cost. Elvis worked tirelessly, always punctual, and everyone on set, from actors to the director, couldn't help but notice how kind and respectful he was. He even impressed them with his dedication, memorizing entire scripts, including everyone else's lines. It seemed like he was destined for stardom. However, as Elvis's career took off, a troubling pattern emerged. Despite his talent, Elvis's acting was often overlooked. People around him, including the director, would avoid giving him advice, fearing he'd surpass them. The Colonel, Elvis's manager, saw no need for acting lessons. He believed the formula of formulaic movies was what mattered most: make money, not art. The Colonel kept costs low and limited Elvis's filming time, focusing instead on movie soundtracks that brought in big bucks. This approach stifled Elvis's potential as an actor and his musical growth. For years after his army service, Elvis recorded hit songs, but the Colonel carefully controlled his exposure. Instead of exploring new musical territories, Elvis was funneled into movie soundtracks, which limited his ability to develop as an artist. By the 1960s, Elvis felt trapped in a cycle he couldn't escape. He knew he wanted more, but the financial security provided by the Colonel made it hard to break free. The Colonel's grip was tight, using Elvis's financial dependence and personal ties to keep him in line. Elvis's situation was a product of his environment and aspirations. Coming from poverty, the allure of wealth and fame was irresistible. The bright lights of Hollywood represented success to him, even if it meant compromising his artistic integrity. Unlike some of his peers who used their platforms to protest societal issues, Elvis accepted his role, albeit resentfully. His anger and frustration simmered beneath the surface, manifesting in his behavior and occasional outbursts. Elvis's roots in the South played a significant role in his mindset. Growing up, he witnessed the harsh realities of sharecropping, where workers were trapped in a cycle of debt and subservience to their bosses. This experience shaped his relationship with the Colonel, who, in a way, became his new boss man. Elvis may have made less money than the Colonel, but he was bound by a sense of obligation and fear of returning to the poverty he left behind. At the height of his Hollywood struggle in 1967, Elvis recorded Big Boss Man, a song that captured his plight. It was a moment of truth, revealing how he felt trapped yet powerless to change his circumstances. Despite his immense cultural influence, Elvis couldn't break free from the control of those who held his career in their hands. His story is a poignant reminder of how the pursuit of success can sometimes lead to unexpected chains. Elvis's journey is one of great talent, overshadowed by the complexities of ambition and control. In the mid-1960s, something unexpected began to happen to Elvis Presley. Those close to him noticed a change. Instead of the usual fun and partying, Elvis seemed more interested in sitting in bed with books. This shift puzzled everyone around him. They wondered why the king of rock and roll, known for his wild lifestyle, was suddenly so into reading. Elvis had always loved books. As a young boy, his father gave him a book by a cartoonist named George Price. As he grew older, Elvis's love for learning only grew stronger. He enjoyed subjects like science and literature. In school, he spent time in the library, and he even loved books so much that he would bring them along on trips. In 1964, a noticeable change took place. Elvis, who used to love going to movie theaters and attending parties, found himself more and more with his nose in a book. His team and friends began to worry. They thought maybe he was getting bored or was in need of a break from the spotlight. But Elvis was not bored, he was searching for something deeper. Elvis had always felt a bit like an outsider, even with all his fame. Losing his twin brother and later his mother had left deep scars. He often felt like he didn't quite fit in and wondered why he was so famous. These feelings made him question his purpose. Why was he chosen for all this fame? Was it just luck, or was there more to it? These questions haunted him. To find answers, Elvis dove into studying different faiths and philosophies. He read everything he could find on world religions. He explored Eastern philosophies and spent time meditating. This was long before famous musicians like the Beatles traveled to India to learn from spiritual leaders. Elvis was doing something similar, though in his own way. His quest for meaning brought him to a turning point in 1964. That's when he met Larry Geller, a hairdresser with a fascination for spirituality. Geller introduced Elvis to books on yoga, meditation, and other subjects that intrigued Elvis. For the first time, Elvis had someone to talk to about his deep feelings and struggles. Geller became like a guide for Elvis, someone who understood the turmoil inside him. However, not everyone was happy about Geller's influence. Those around Elvis, particularly the men who had been his close friends since the beginning, were skeptical. They saw Geller as a fraud and worried that Elvis was being led astray. They feared Geller might turn Elvis into a cult leader. Priscilla, Elvis's girlfriend, was also concerned. She felt Elvis's new interests made him less lively and more withdrawn. She worried about the direction Elvis was heading in. Despite the criticism, Elvis was determined to explore these new ideas. He saw them as a chance to understand himself better and find a deeper purpose in his life. His spiritual journey was not just about reading books. It was about asking big questions and seeking answers that went beyond the glitz and glamour of his fame. Elvis's friends and family watched as he delved deeper into these topics, trying to support him while also worrying about his well-being. They saw the man they knew, the one who loved to dance and sing, now lost in thought, surrounded by books and ideas that seemed far removed from his usual life. But for Elvis, this was about more than just curiosity. It was about finding a sense of peace and meaning in a world that often felt overwhelming. Elvis Presley was like a man lost in a whirlwind of his own making. He sought answers, trying everything from meditating to reading mystical books, all in an attempt to understand himself better. His quest was intense, and he tried new things without hesitation. One day, he even had a vision of Joseph Stalin turning into Jesus, which left him both puzzled and seeking deeper meaning. Despite these intense spiritual moments, Elvis couldn't escape his fame and its pressures. He saw angels and UFOs, and sometimes, under the influence of pills, he'd preach to his friends with humor, though they weren't always amused. Elvis knew he struggled with his own image of himself, feeling guilty for not living up to the ideal of who he was supposed to be. He wanted to escape his celebrity but felt bound to it, even considering switching identities to break free. As the years went by, Elvis's movies became less popular, and he turned his focus back to music. In 1965, a spiritual song, "Crying in the Chapel," became a big hit, reminding him of his roots. He decided to record more spiritual music, aiming for something deeper than just soundtracks. In 1967, he released an album called "How Great Thou Art," for which he won his first Grammy for a sacred performance. This album showed how his spiritual journey influenced his music. Around the same time, Elvis bought a large piece of land in Mississippi, hoping to find peace and simplicity away from Graceland. He named it the Flying Circle G, and it was meant to be a commune where he and his friends could live together, with houses, horses, and a sense of community. He bought trailers, horses, trucks, and even a black pony, envisioning a life away from the spotlight. However, life at the ranch was not as simple as Elvis imagined. He spent money freely, buying things and living lavishly even in what he hoped would be a simpler setting. He would ride around in a cowboy outfit, eating hot dog buns, while his friends enjoyed horseback riding and singing together. Though it seemed like a break from his usual life, Elvis couldn't fully disconnect from his habits. He was still taking a lot of pills and seemed more confused and restless than ever. Elvis's journey shows us how someone can seek deep meaning and change, yet struggle to break free from their own fame and personal demons. His story is a reminder that finding balance between our desires and our true selves is a challenge many face. Through it all, Elvis's love for music, his struggle with his image, and his longing for peace remained constant, even if his path to finding them was full of twists and turns.